Hi, good evening. Tonight I want to talk about Sahasrara, the Crown Chakra. So I'll just give you a little bit of an overview before I put the slides up. So Sahasrara is a yang, male. Remember, they go yin yang all the way up the different chakras. And it's really about consciousness. It's about thought and information, meaning, knowing, understanding, transcendence, eminence, and meditation. So we think of the crown chakra as a halo of 1,000-fold white petals, and those are synonymous with infinity, each one attuned to the highest states of consciousness. So it's where we come to know our immortality and our total connectedness to all that is, and not just as an intellectual understanding, as it becomes our reality, as how we live our life. There's a complete shift in the way life is lived and in perception. So it further expands the communication of the throat and the third eye toward an interconnectedness of all things and all knowledge, and with divine wisdom and understanding. So we start, as we open the crown, we open to all knowledge. It's linked to cosmic energy. So the intellect becomes abandoned to the power of knowing. So it's beyond the intellectual aspect of mind. Some people talk about experiencing a state of bliss or rapture, and this is as the Kundalini energy from the base reconnects with the universal. The crown of kings signifies order in the kingdom, the ruling principle of life, the place where the underlying order and meaning of all things is ultimately perceived. There's a pervading consciousness that thinks, reasons, and gives form and focus to all activities. So consciousness is a force. It's related to the Hindu guna sattva, this all-knowing. I've talked about how the time when the earth is in sattva, in this deeply peaceful, connected energy, is at sunrise and sunset. It's the witness in meditation. So when we go deep, deep into a contemplative state in meditation, it's very hard to use words. This is where it would be easier if we were telepathic, because we go inward, but we expand outward, and we know ourselves to be one, just single. There is nothing but us, but we are connected to all. And so it's very, you can't get that with your logical, rational mind. That's why if I could download more the experiential, telepathic understanding of that, it would be more something that you experience. It gives awareness and meaning is important. It's where we come to understand the meaning of life. So meaning is a pattern that connects. It brings us closer to unity, and it links the individual to the universal. Okay. So when the crown is awakened into higher activity, the higher awareness, the person experiences a life view as a holistic view. So taking into account all the lesser, more isolated views and reconciling them. So we think of someone who's enlightened as kind of walking around in a state of bliss and samadhi, sattva, all the time. This is not the case, although they will have that experience. No, what happens is when a person becomes fully realized or fully enlightened, the ordinary things, they're no longer ordinary. Okay, so they still exist, but they see the absolute relevance and perfection of all things. And the truly enlightened see the connectedness and perfection of all of creation. Okay, so it's like a complete shift of the way you see the world and the way that you interact with the world. And it's not a mental shift, it's a whole being shift. It's a consciousness shift. This chakra tends to open in stages until there's a final opening when the life view is completely changed and the conscious awareness is totally transformed. And this is like Paul on the road to Damascus. We talk about samadhi, self-realization, God realization. It can be called enlightenment. There's lots of names and lots of different religions and faiths for the same process. So there's a lightening of the energy. Okay, we're moving from more dense energy of the lower chakras, like the base connected to the denser vibrations of the earth, moving up through water, fire, air, up into sound, light. And when we get up to the crown, there is freedom of thought, freedom in action, where we're so connected to all that the ways of the world and the pulls of the ego and the desires and attachments of the world don't hold any, they don't mean anything to us anymore. Okay. It only occurs when you've completed all the necessary cycles of growth. It's not something you can open prematurely. If someone is talking about their crown being opened and they are an enlightened person, they are not. Okay, it's a very a process that is personal and impersonal. You become impersonal because you become connected to all, but it is something quite personal to the individual who that has happened to. So it's like the crowning glory. It's like the capstone of the pyramid. And the idea, it's like the image, think of a lotus flower. So a lotus flower has its roots down in the depths of the mud at the bottom of the lake, in the earth, grounded, connected to the dark depths of life. But this gives it a firm hold and lots of nutrients. But as it grows, and the ultimate climax or the pinnacle is where the flower opens at the top to the sunlight and the air and full of expression of its perfection, its beauty, and all that it is. So some of my own musings on the crown. When the crown starts to open, our understanding of love changes. We start to realize it's not just a heartfelt emotion, but love, as human beings, we don't really understand love. And I think as the crown opens, there starts to be a greater understanding of love, that we live in a universe, a cosmos, dimensions and universes that are all held together by love. It's like we live in a plasma of love, and love is the glue that holds it all together, all of creation. So love is the desire to know, to learn, to understand, to expand, to grow, to connect and experience unity. There is no difference between the light of the mind and the love of the heart. There is only this lighted love. And this is the connection, the sea of this lighted love that pervades all that we exist in and can connect to. And this love we can call God, okay? This love is curious. It expresses the will to good or the will to God. And the aspiration to be ever more conscious of who we are. It's almost like consciousness wants to know itself, okay? And to know all that we are. So in this connection to all that is, to the divine, we come to know I am. So nothing, this is a love that's impersonal. It's not a personal love like we experience in the lower chakras. It's impersonal, but it's divine. It's profound. It goes beyond what we can describe in words. It's probably better described in poetry, in music, in the more creative expressions. So nothing exists outside of it. When the crown opens, we know ourselves to be love. And that's it. We just know ourselves to be love and to be connected to all in love. And this is where our understanding will eventually go in terms of this idea we have of love. Okay, we're still infants in our understanding of love, but we are making progress all the time. So it's not just an intellectual experience. It's a change in your reality. Okay, so love and wisdom become one. Sattva, samadhi, nirvana, bliss. You move from earth awareness to heaven on earth awareness, still on the earth. You don't have to go anywhere. When a person's crown opens and they become fully enlightened, they're still very much living a normal life. They're not sort of off in a cave, connected in eternal bliss to the universal and removed from life, not at all. This is to ultimately spiritualize matter and to experience matter as spiritualized in its full realization. So to know that all is as it is meant to be. To know that there's a divine reason behind everything that happens in every moment. To know that all events are occurring as they're meant to be. Okay. So I want to just look a little bit at the slide to look at some of the archetypes and to look at what happens when in the process of this chakra opening, when it's perhaps too open, too closed, blocked, this sort of thing. So the positive archetype, this is self-determination. So a person has quite a command of their life. So I think of in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna finally realizes that Krishna, his higher self, what Krishna is asking, and Krishna is asking Arjuna to take the reins of his life, to step into that position as the charioteer and to guide those horses, the will, and to know that thy will be my will. So to start to know you're part of a divine plan and God's will just manifests through you. Okay. What you find with the guru, there's an expansive worldview. They open to the unexpected, the serendipitous, the coincidental. They accept how little they know, but trust that their connection to their higher self will provide the right answer or the path. So there's almost, there's a humility when a person reaches this stage, because there's a surrender of all knowledge and claim to knowing and all claim to wisdom. There's a surrender, a beautiful surrender to the wisdom of life and the flow of life into something far greater than your individual self. And that surrender is probably the final obstacle, the hardest obstacle that especially we in the West find, to surrender our attachment to our mind, our logical, intelligent, intellectual mind. I have come in contact with one person I know to be fully enlightened. Others I have suspected, but one man early when I was first introduced to meditation in my early 20s. And it was part of a a ceremony to introduce us to meditation. And I was just in the presence of this man, and I walked into the room, and I have never felt such an overwhelming feeling of love emanating from another human being. Just this man was love. I can't even remember what he looks like, but I have never forgotten how I felt in his presence. So it's a vibration. You can't fake energy. You can't fake vibration. Once a person is vibrating and emanating at this level of consciousness, we know it. Okay, we can feel it, even if we don't understand it. Okay, the more negative archetype, when the person is very reluctant to go anywhere near opening the crown. There's a tight control over life. A real connection to materialism and a value placed on materialism. But what tends to happen is life will bring along events and lessons that will really challenge the person's connection to looking for meaning in a material life, a life of possessions and attachment, because they lack the inner resources. Often they will have no time for anything that isn't logical. But sometimes what happens, this attachment to the material, it's sort of the opposite pole of the crown, if you like. Something will happen in their life. It might be the loss of their health or bankruptcy, or something will get them to look, force them to look and wake up to their spiritual bankruptcy. And quite often there is a turning moment, and the person starts to awaken to their spiritual path and to move away from that lower vibration and start moving up through the chakras, opening those chakras. Okay, the crown chakra, if it's too open, there's a suggestion we start to get psychotic problems or things like manic depression. Can manifest as someone who's extremely frustrated, confused sexually. There's too much coming in, and the nervous system and the brain is not ready for that energy coming in. And this is the danger of opening, especially the crown prematurely, as you can induce almost like psychotic episodes, because as the chakras open, and they don't all open, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at any given time, you will have several opening on various stages of opening. But if the person opens the higher centers prematurely, they're not ready. They can't, it's almost like their etheric vehicle is not ready for the type of vibrational energy coming in, and it can cause mental health problems. If it's blocked, it can be that there's no sense of belonging. So rather than a feeling of belonging to all and that feeling of unity, the person really doesn't feel like they belong anywhere or to anything. Can be exhaustion, inability to make decisions. So there's not enough energy coming in through the crown. When it's balanced, we get someone who's very magnetic. Okay. We start to get someone who achieves miracles. They start to really understand the connection of mind and energy, of thought and energy. And that really miracles are just a shift in perception and in belief. There's a transcendence about the person, and there's a great peace. It's a humble but a deep peace about their nature. So some of the physical dysfunctions are suggested. There can be a sensitivity to pollution, exhaustion, sometimes claimed epilepsy and Alzheimer's and things like this can be problems with the crown. Emotional dysfunctions can be obsessional thinking, confusion, depression. I'm not saying that these conditions are always caused by the crown, but they can be a factor when things are not quite going well with the crown. So that hopefully gives you a good kind of idea of the crown chakra. because what I want to do now is, now that we have looked at all 7 of the major centers, and remember, these are not the only chakras in the body, they are the main ones associated with our vertical alignment between spirit and matter, between the personality and the soul. We think of our spiritual alignment as being on the vertical. And then obviously we talk about our service work, our heart work going out on the horizontal to form the cross. That we've talked about the heart as being the pivotal sort of clearinghouse where that is enabled. So those 7 major ones of what I've focused on, but there are at least 49 chakras in the body, and I suspect more. You know, we know about the healing chakras in the hands that we use in any kind of energy healing work. We know about the chakras in your feet that connect you to the earth and you take energy through. And there are lots of others. Now, when we want to look, I just want to do a quick overview on healing and balancing the vibrational energy of the chakras. Because as we've gone about, you know, what happens, how does it manifest when they're blocked, when they're spinning too fast, when they're out of balance. And so what can we do about it? If you recognize in any of these talks, yeah, my solar plexus chakra is blocked, what can I do about it? Now, it's often intuitive. We're often drawn to that which rebalances, and we look back in hindsight, oh, that's why I was doing that. That's why I was drawn to those crystals. That's why I was drawn to that particular homeopathy. That's why I was drawn to it. And it's always energy healing modalities that we're talking about. So there are some physical energy practices that work to help to balance the chakras, often to open chakras just intuitively, whichever ones need to, and to also help the energy flow between them and the interplay between them, because these are not isolated centers, they all work together. Okay, so things like yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong all work with the etheric body quite powerfully, and with keeping the energy flowing through the meridians, through the nadis, through the chakras. We've got Reiki and other forms of healing energy coming through the physical vehicle. We've got any sort of vibrational medicine like homeopathy, herbal medicine, works on the idea that if the body is out of balance, it will be out of tune. It'll be vibrating out of tune. And when you bring in something that retunes that vibrational energy, the body is then able to heal and come back to a place of equilibrium and homeostasis. And I'm going to do in a few weeks some more in-depth talks on esoteric healing, on sound healing, and on light healing. So I'll go into more details then. But things like magnetism works with the chakras, crystals, flower remedies. And with each chakra, using the associated sense. So if you think of the sound was the vibration of the throat chakra. So chanting and mantras and singing and humming, various humming breaths and various things we do in yoga for the throat help to open and free up the flow of energy in the throat chakra. Touch is more the earth, the physical, the base chakra, and that's to do with our security and our safety and our feeling like we belong and our needs will be met. And this is something that we're really seeing at the moment with the pandemic, because people are having issues with their base chakra because they're not having the physical contact with other people that is necessary for that chakra to be in balance. And remember, the base is the base of the pyramid. You can't worry about the capstone on top of the pyramid if you haven't got a solid, good functioning base. Sight Okay, we talked about sight as being the light, and this is where colors can heal. Nature heals. You know, you go out into nature and the light comes in, and it often opens that awareness that we experience with the third eye. Taste. Okay, taste is also food is of the earth. Taste is a very fundamental, but taste also brings in the water element. It brings in the fire. Okay, different, you know, in Ayurvedic model of health and medicine, they look at balancing different gunas in the body, balancing different aspects of the body with what you eat, and the qualities, the different earth, the different elements of those qualities of the food. You have nutritional healing. Smell. Okay, smell through essential oils can balance different essential oils, work with different chakras. And meditation. Meditation, especially for the higher, from the throat, third eye, and the head center. And the different stages of meditation as we go into through the first stage of meditation, where it's more concentration and focus, training and disciplining your mind, to a stage where you're able to just let that go and go into more an expansive contemplative stage of meditation. That's when you're really working with the crown. So a lot of it is being prepared to look at the emotional, mental issues that you have in this lifetime, and you all know what they are. They'll be the things that you avoid looking at. Okay, so we can't expect to progress spiritually and not address issues to do with the astral body, to do with the emotions, to do with our beliefs and our conditionings. And really, this is coming to a place where one of the things that balances and clears chakras and helps with the development through the chakras faster than anything else is living harmlessly. Okay, so living harmlessly is a powerful means of healing and balancing chakras. It works on all of them. Okay, and this is harmlessness, not just in deed, but in intention, which is the heart, and in thought. Okay, as we start to understand the power of thought, and especially as we start to move into clairvoyance and telepathy and these higher vibrational forms of communication, we will have to start to live harmlessly and learn to live harmlessly in our mind and with our thoughts, because thoughts are creative. Okay, thoughts create things, they are, and we really don't appreciate or understand that, although we are starting to. So ultimately, a change in mind heals the physical body. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when I do my talk on esoteric healing. Because from a spiritual point of view, all problems in the physical body and many in the mind can be at some level traced back to a lack of soul contact. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that as a statement out there. We'll come back to that in a few weeks and look at that in more depth. So there's some sounds, some Sanskrit mantras and colors that are associated with each. And you can actually add mudras. So the yoga with the hands. I've got a little routine where I can visualize the color. I can make a mudra for each chakra and chant the sound going through the chakras just to clear them. So there's things like that where you're bringing in, you know, the bases, and you see this as the colors of the rainbow. And these are like la ming ya va ming ra ming ya ming, this sort of chanting, continuous chanting is very powerful for cleansing and getting the energy to flow through chakras. And you can feel when a chakra is not flowing so well, because it's like there's a stuckness to the sound. It doesn't flow quite as well. So there's a lot to explore. This much, a lot of this I'm giving to you so that it sparks your curiosity. Remember, the crown is all about wanting to understand and to know and to seek meaning and connection, so that you will go away and pursue more knowing and wisdom on this. So just running through this, we often associate this is different books. Some books will talk about the pituitary gland associated with the crown. Some will talk about the pituitary associated with the third eye and the pineal. There's an interplay, and I don't want to get into this because it's quite complicated. There's an interplay between a spiritual interplay as well as a physical interplay between the pineal glands and the pituitary in the head. But it's quite a complex subject. Thought, we've got cosmic energy, and the ruling planet is Uranus. So Uranus at a very sacred planet, very high vibration. And it's interesting that the crown, the opening of this greater awareness, this total shift in consciousness, is to do with Aquarius. And given that we are now in the age of Aquarius, I really believe that, especially like this pandemic, for example, which you could a catalyst to a major shift in consciousness for us as a collective group. I think there'll be more and more people rising up into these higher states of vibration, fully realizing the truth of who they are. And this is a pivotal point in the history of humanity. We're at a point of decision. This is a make or break time that we're coming up to quite soon. There's many indications of that, both astrologically, and for many people are tuning in more to intuitive information about that. And really, Aquarius is about this total shift in the way of perceiving reality, beyond the ego, beyond the small self, into something much more universal. So the oils, frankincense, okay, that's one of the reasons frankincense is used in many ceremonies. Rosewood, lavender. We have clear quartz, diamond, amethyst. So some of the crystals with the most radiatory energy, the crystals of the highest vibration. We've covered all of this. There's some suggestion fasting. So once you start getting up into the crown, to reach higher states of consciousness and awareness, a fasting state. But I'm not advocating that you do a lot of that to become enlightened, because it doesn't quite work that way. Okay, so that is the end of our series on the chakras. What I want to finish with is, and I thought I had a slide, maybe I don't. Let me just see if there's one past here. No, okay. Talk about the potential for mankind through an understanding of the energy in the chakras. What an understanding of these centers does is it leads to a responsible use of energy. You start to understand more about energy flow, and about the energy in each of the centers. You start to understand and take self-responsibility for blockages in centers, for the blockages in energy flow, and for those emotional and mental issues and things that you need to deal with to get that energy flowing. So it's very much about your growth and expansion as an individual spiritually. There's a great awareness as you move up through the chakras of your contribution to the whole development of mankind through your individual spiritual growth. And this is where, as an individual grows spiritually and moves up through the centers, opening them to ultimately opening that crown, not only you don't do that for yourself, you do it for all. Okay, because you lift the vibrational energy of all. We are all connected. And so for every Buddha made, nature rejoices. Okay, for every person who lifts their vibration, who cleanses and heals any aspect of themselves, it is for the good of all. It lifts the vibration of all. And you start to see that you actually have a responsibility, okay, in your own individual spiritual growth. Also, as we move through opening the center, especially once the heart center starts to open in significant numbers of people on the planet, we pave the way for group work through united purpose, through the type of meditation we do on these Thursday evenings. And we start to open the capacity for telepathy and for higher awareness and for communicating, not just through the voice and words, because ultimately we will let words go, because words are so limiting. Okay, words as an expression of ideas, as an experiential expression, they have limits. And as you start working up in higher vibrations, words become clumsy. This is where sometimes I just want to download this and let you feel what I'm trying to say. We also, as a collective, will move away from more physical energy healing practices into more energetic energy healing practices. And as we move up into the higher centers, we start to realize that with that understanding that we are connected to all comes a responsibility to all living things, to all planets, to all universes. We are multi-dimensional creatures. We are just aware of this experience, but we are living multiple lives. We live in multiple dimensions. We have lived on many planets and will live on many planets. We never die. We are immortal. Our soul goes on. And these are just intellectual ideas until they start to become things that you know and experience. And ultimately, this knowledge will lift mankind from the focus on materialism, from the attachment to things that in everyday life, up into realizing their full spiritual being, that they are a spiritual being. Down here in this school for souls we call Earth, and it's one of the most difficult schools I understand in the cosmos. Okay, so we got the not the best card. We took on the challenge. This is not an easy place to be. It's a school for souls, not for the faint-hearted, but we are here to spiritualize matter and to wake people up by waking up ourselves. So there's a potential for living in harmony with all other kingdoms, with all the other living things, with the physical, living, breathing entity that is our planet and our home. So you can see that an awareness of the chakras, especially as you move up into the crown, comes with it an awareness far beyond what many people spend their day thinking about. Okay, and personally, I find that a wonderful, that's what gives life its color. Once you start to become aware of these things, you don't really want to go back to focusing on the things that maybe you did before, because it just opens a door to so much. Okay, so thank you for these talks. I have enjoyed giving them, and I hope you've got a lot from them. What I want to do now is I'll take some questions and discussion after the meditation, but I'm aware time's moving on, so I want to move into the very important part of our group work and coming together in meditation. So what I would like to do is to bring our hearts together into a united intent, is repeat the affirmation of love. In the center of all love I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. Now get yourself comfortable, sitting upright but not rigid. And to begin with, I want to ground our energy so that we are connected to Gaia, to our planet. So just imagine you are sending that connection either down through your feet, through the chakras in your feet, or through the base chakra, right down deep into the earth, connecting with her. And now I want to bring us into this present moment, mindful and aware. So I invite you to just notice the feeling of your body sitting on the chair. Just notice the feeling of the clothes on your skin. Allow the sounds in the room to come into your awareness. And now take your awareness to the breath. And just gently notice the breath as it comes into your body. Notice the breath as it leaves. And with a kindness and a gentleness, just allow your body to start to relax with each breath cycle. Taking that breath a little deeper. Imagining that you are opening a channel right down through the center of your physical body, especially between the sternum and the spine and the area of your heart. But keep a gentle focus on the breath. If thoughts intrude, sounds, physical sensations, as soon as you notice you've been distracted, come back to the breath. And just let the breath take you down into a peaceful place within you. Keeping a gentle focus. And returning with loving kindness whenever you are distracted and you realize. So thoughts are still in your mind, but they're just like movements through your mind. The focus is on the breath. And I want you to bring your focus to the center of your chest and breathe into your heart chakra. So just allow there to be a feeling of expansion in the center of your chest. With each breath, gently expanding. Don't force this, just allow this expansion to be natural. And I want you to imagine that your heart is filling with lighted love. And this enables a connection to the highest aspect of you, to your highest self, your soul, what we call your Buddhic or Buddha nature. Now I want you to imagine that you are bringing white or violet, purple or gold light down from your higher self through the crown of your head, and it is illuminating all the major energy centers of your body, the chakras we associate with the spine. Now imagine your heart center as the vessel that receives and distributes this light throughout your body. And I want you to imagine that you are giving your body, you are bathing in lighted love. So it's almost like a shower is coming down through the crown, collected at the heart and pouring out throughout your physical body so that every cell is bathed in lighted love, this divine love. You may start to lose awareness of your physical body. Do not be worried if this happens or doesn't happen. So imagine your whole body is filling with this lighted love, this divine energy, purifying, cleansing, and healing your whole physical body, your emotional body, your mind, so that your whole being is bathed in lighted love. And this is the love that pervades the entire cosmos, all of creation, and is flowing through all parts of you, deep into the atoms, the space between the atoms in your cell, throughout your whole being. Allow it to flow out into the etheric body or the energy field, the aura that surrounds your physical body, to fill all the energy pathways through your body, so that you are love. Now imagine that this lighted love can flow out into your home to touch all living beings in your home. Now let it flow out into the homes in the street upon which you live, into your neighborhood, radiating out, pouring in through your crown, radiating out from your heart. Continue to let it radiate out. Energy never stops. Once it is radiated, it continues, always. Let it radiate out to fill your community, your town, or the city in which you live. Let it join with all those in the group meditation tonight, or those joining in the recording, to fill this nation with lighted love, connecting all, awakening all to their connection to all. Let it fill this part of the world. Feel the connection as the lighted love travels to all parts of this hemisphere. To the southern hemisphere, to fill our whole world, as we join with all groups who work in this way, who work with light, with love. Now imagine you can see our planet from space, and you can see this beautiful aura of love surrounding her. You see it flowing down, healing the ozone layers, flowing down into the material world, healing our planet, restoring the water, the air. See all animal and plant life flourishing, the balance and equilibrium in nature restored. See it flowing into the hearts and minds of all of mankind, consciously or unconsciously, igniting the desire, the aspiration for peace, for goodwill, and right relations between all peoples, right relations within their own being, between themselves and others, within communities, within nations, between nations, throughout the whole human family, this awareness of our connection. So that we become aware of the collective consciousness and ignite in all this desire to live in peace and harmony with all, to live in a way that is harmless. Visualize these energies unifying and eliminating all divisions within humanity, healing and transforming human consciousness, lifting people up into the highest expression of who they are, and establishing right human relations. Continue to hold your heart open and allow this beautiful energy to radiate out from your being, joining with all those of like mind and united intention. Continue to hold a space for this energy to radiate out. And now let us come together to repeat the great invocation. Repeating the words with conviction from your heart and pausing between each stanza to visualize and imagine the words playing out. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. And now gently draw your energy back into your own energy field. And start to come back to an awareness of your physical body sitting in the chair in this room. And just gently start to move, opening your eyes when you're ready. Lovely. Right, now I'm going to open up to any questions or comments. Or if people want to share experiences, anything that adds is always welcome. If you're not so keen to be on the recording or the video, you can always put something in the chat and I will read it out. I wouldn't want you to miss out, okay? Because if there's something you want to ask, it means that that is a question that many want the answer to. So don't be shy. If there is something you're thinking, oh, I wonder what, and I'll have a go at answering, and if I can't, there might be people here who can, or we put it out there and the answers will come. They'll find you in some form or another. So Michael, you've got something to say. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, please.
Thank you for the talk, Teresa. The series has been absolutely excellent and covered a lot of ground. And it's just, I've got a comment about the Crown Chakra, in as much as it's where consciousness reaches a point where humanity takes responsibility for itself. Because I think one of the differences between spiritually aware and, say, religion is that I don't think the creator is going to guide the story. I think the deal is that humanity guides the story, makes use of our free will, and leads itself to its own salvation, if you see what I mean. And so I think that's part of what to kind of resonate with the Crown Chakra is. It's to kind of join forces with that collective on that wavelength, to actually say, okay, well, we recognize our responsibility to try and take things in this direction, in the right direction.
Definitely.
It's kind of a universal calling, if that's what I'm trying to say.
And you have the crown, you take the crown of responsibility. But remember also that, yes, definitely it is up to humanity. And, we've talked in the past about the few can lift the vibration of the many, but also remember, we are helped. We really are not alone. We are helped by, in so many ways that I don't think we're only just starting to become aware of how we are helped from many realms and many dimensions and many different beings and many planets and masters who have, and saints and rishis and people who have had earth incarnations and have moved on to higher vibrations. They really want us to do this, but it is, you're right, it is up to us. We're not children anymore. It's up to us to lift collectively, or enough of us to drag the rest kicking and screaming into a new way of being, into a new awareness and this shift in consciousness. And I believe that this pandemic that is affecting the whole world is a pivotal point in that process. But we have to step up to the mark as individuals and as a collective. And each of us, every time we lift our vibration, we lift the vibration of all. We play our part. And that's really what we need to do. You're right. It's a call. It's a calling. And we can't sit back and wait for other people to do it, or other beings to do it for us, or to God to do it for us. No, you're right. This is an awakening. And there's enough prompting. Anyone who's on a spiritual path knows you don't get away. You don't get away with sitting on your laurels. The messages just start coming through louder and clearer. And it's not easy. Like I say, this is a school for challenge. This is a challenging school for souls we are on. But we wouldn't be here if we weren't up to the challenge. Okay, but it's about working together. No one person no one avatar is going to come and save us. It's up to us. And we each have a role to play in that. And that's something that happens with the crown, that awareness of your part of a divine plan, just moment by moment, day by day. And that's, the combination of the intuitive coming through the third eye and that opening to this shift. But you're so right. Yes. But for many people, they will shy away from that. That's too scary. But to realize that if each one of us does our part, the collective is easy.
I think so.
There's no one of us has to do it all. There's no one of us that has total responsibility, but we are all. We, that's the thing. We don't know who we are really. We think we're just these little beings down on this planet who don't amount to much, and it's just not true. The opening of the crown is to awaken to the God within you, to realize that you are a spark of the divine. You are connected to all that is, to creation, to the creator. Yeah, brilliant. Anybody else got a question? Finian, yes. So if you unmute, and we'll have some wisdom from Nottingham.
Good evening, Teresa. First of all, thank you very much. I think tonight was really special, but the others have been good as well. Well, at the beginning, when you were talking about this business of cosmic consciousness, enlightenment, or whatever name you want to call it, I was reminded of something from the Sikh tradition. They talk about something which they call the 8th chakra, which is a consequence of opening the 7th. And the 8th chakra is the whole of the aura becomes activated. I quite like that idea. It sort of makes sense. I'm not going into these people with detailed maps of 24 chakras and 12 above your head and 10 below your feet and all this sort of nonsense. Don't think we need that. But the idea of the consequence of the 7th chakra being active is what they call the 8th chakra, that it flows into your whole sort of etheric egg being. I quite like that one. It came into my head when you were speaking near the beginning.
Yeah, definitely.
The other one that I quite like, I was reading somewhere in one of the obscure Jewish texts for another program I was working on. They use the pronoun he relating to God, because they describe him as the one who was there and caused the beginning. In other words, he initiated things.
Yes.
And therefore has some masculine qualities, but they're quite happy that he's got loads of feminine qualities as well.
Yes, yes.
But for convenience, they use he.
Yeah.
But one of the things they say, which really fascinates me, is he created us because he desired a relationship. And I like that idea.
Yeah. Yes, it's like the idea.
Mind you, but the end of it is we've got to be up for it.
Yeah.
Which is all about activating all our chakras and getting back to some kind of decent spiritual consequence, or else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in fact, one of the rabbis was saying this week, because they're studying Noah and the story of Noah, is that, if basically it's because we haven't been up to it, certain things are getting dealt with.
Yes.
That was his way of putting it. And he was suggesting we all need the spiritual among us need to create an ark. And he also said we need to wear masks when we go out so that the angels of death that are wandering about know we are people that are covering ourselves, being modest and not being blatant.
Okay.
I just thought that was quite good, because he was suggesting that one of the problems is that some people, not everybody obviously, have got to the stage where they just couldn't care less and anything goes.
Yeah.
And that will not do.
Well, there's, as you progress up through the chakras, like the pyramid,
Absolutely.
There is an ordering there that, and this is a very seventh ray, to create magic through order. As you move up through the chakras, there will naturally become a more ordered life, a an ordered, a quietening of the mind, a quietening of the emotional nature, and an alignment. But it's interesting, that comment about creator, because I remember reading years ago, and I, like you, it really resonated, the idea that really God, the creator, had no way of knowing himself, because if you're all that is, you have to have a relationship with something to reflect back and show you who you are. And so we were created to reflect back all aspects of creation to God, so God could know, consciousness could know itself. And this is also on a, you know, as above, so below. What's happening in us is man, know thyself. And as we move up toward the higher centers, we are the same. We are seeking to know till we reach a point where we just know, I am. And I am.
There's another thing I read where I'm simplifying it a bit, but he said, God created Adam and Eve so that they became two beings, so that they could face each other, see each other, and communicate. Because before that, when there was one nature, that kind of communication wasn't possible.
No, because it's through relating that we grow and see and understand. You know, every single time we relate to anything or anybody, it's like a mirror we see.
Absolutely.
And we can't without relating. You know, it's there is nothing to know there. And this is why I talk about love in terms of to grow and expand and relate and connect and know. We think of love as more this kind of heart emotion, but it does encompass that, but it's far more than that. It is this, we live in a sea of love that seeks to know. And I think that for me, it resonates on a much higher level of my being, almost beyond where I start to struggle to explain. And this is where I would like to just go, this is what I mean, and download it if I could, but we haven't got there yet. So, and yeah, this is where I think in the future, and I'll talk about this in talks to come, you know, we will communicate these things by other means than words. Might be through music or through color or vision or light. But it's very hard to describe an experience of connection with the divine. I mean, you know, people can describe blissful, transcendent experiences they have had in deep states of meditation. Or sometimes even if you're out in nature, where just all your individualness, your small personality, ego self, even just for a moment disappears, and you have an awareness that you are all and connected to all. And those sort of experiences are transcendent. We get a wee glimpse through the crown of an awareness we could have all the time. But bring, you know, all of it to just live, you know, in a complete state of bliss all the time is not what it's about. It's got to be brought, it's got to be here in the material world. That's why we're here. We are a conduit between heaven and earth to bring heaven down. Well, no, it's not even to bring heaven down to earth. It's to realize that heaven is here on earth. Yeah, lots to think about.
On a totally different level, you mentioned Ted talking about Scorpio and such like things. Is that next Thursday?
Yeah, it's just about you've read my mind there. That must have been a little bit of telepathy, because I was just going to say next week we're just before the Scorpio full moon, and the Scorpio full moon this year falls on Halloween, which, you know, I know Halloween's become this very commercial American type of thing, but in this country, Halloween has far deeper roots in the pagan traditions, in the more earth connected traditions. But also he's going to bring in and weave in some of the festival of the dead, some of the spiritual opportunities when we actually look death in the face, when, you know, because Halloween is all about facing the demons and the goblins and the witches and the scary things. It's because when you face a fear, it dissolves. And so it's sort of a night where we're sort of almost teaching our children, face your fears, and you get candy as a result. You know what I mean? There's lots in there, but the fact that it falls on a Scorpio full moon is beautiful synergy, and he will bring a lot of insight. So that's next week. So I'm really looking forward.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you all. Namaste. And thank you for, you know, these talks on the chakras wouldn't be possible if I didn't have someone to talk to. Okay, so thank you for your part in that, because as I talk, I receive, you know, and that flow is what enables the talk to come alive. So you're a big part of that. So thank you to those who listen on the recording, and thanks to those who are live, and namaste. We'll see you next week.